What's happening, everybody? Wednesday, February 26, 2025. My name is Kevin Smith. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Loud Majority Live. We got a jam-packed show for you guys today. The House of Representatives passed a budget resolution last night. Some of the stuff in there I like. Some of the stuff in there I very much do not like. We'll get into all of that. We'll get into all the details of the House budget bill yesterday. Also, a big announcement from Byron Donalds on Sean Hannity's show last night. We're going to get into all the details on that. A huge migrant raid took place, but one of the big stories we're going to talk about today is, of course, Elon Musk, Doge, and his emails, because this is the story that has been dominating not only the Beltway, but the news for quite some time. And there's just been so much breaking news over the last couple of days that I really haven't been able to give my take on it. And quite frankly, it's kind of been annoying me. But before we get to all of that, guys, hit the thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. IKPLA, how are you? Jeanette, how are you? Kelly Salvatore, what's going on? Welcome everybody into the chat. How is it going, Caps? Natalie, how are you? Very good stuff. Very good stuff. Guys, once again, make sure you're hitting the thumbs up button. Keep sharing the video out all over the place. Before we get to that, this show is brought to you by Old Glory Bank.
What do a neurosurgeon, a country artist, and a television and radio host have in common? They all saw the writing on the wall. Big bank sharing your financial information with big government. Join them as owners in Old Glory Bank, the pro-America online bank that protects your privacy, security, and liberty. Invest today at own.oldglorybank.com.
Guys, go to oldglorybank.com. Request some information, guys. Support the people who are supporting the parallel economy by going to oldglorybank.com. So let's dive right on in, because Donald Trump just wrapped up his first public cabinet meeting of this administration. There was a lot they got into. Many of the people got to question Elon Musk finally on the Doge stuff. There were some big announcements made on the Russia front. Well, one of the things I find absolutely hilarious when it comes to foreign policy in this country is something that nobody really ever talks about. And it is going to be the theme of the show today when it comes to press and the press accessibility. The press tends to get very annoyed at Donald Trump when they don't answer his questions, or when he doesn't answer their questions. I should say they get very, very annoyed when, he keeps things pretty close to the vest. And my response to that has always and will always continue to be, could you imagine if we had the sort of press we have now during World War II? Could you imagine if NBC News had went up to FDR and been like, on, let's say, I don't know, June 1st, 1944, and said to the world publicly, Mr. President, you seem to be amassing a large amount of troops at the south of England. Are you planning on invading France? That kind of would have put D-Day into a bit of a crux. But the way they operate now is if Donald Trump and this administration owes them something when it comes to the negotiations between Russia and Ukraine. Now, would I like to have as much information as possible on those negotiations? Yes. However, I think it serves the American people and America's national security interests a hell of a lot better if these things are done behind closed doors. And they can just be discussed in private, so they can actually get things done, as opposed to, I don't know, announcing your foreign policy plans live on CNN. That seems incredibly, incredibly counterproductive to me. But, alas, that is what the press expects. Another big announcement that came out of the cabinet meeting was that Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth is planning on firing everyone involved in the disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal. Now, look, I want to be clear. Do I think that some of the people involved in the Afghanistan withdrawal had nefarious goals and wanted to get Americans killed? Of course not. Of course not. However, if you fail at your job, you lose your job. That is the way the world works. You could try really, really, really hard, and you could have the best intentions in the world, but if you fail, you get fired. That's just the way things go. Here with Pete Hegseth.
Afghanistan and the botched withdrawal. Have all the generals or command staff that were involved with the withdrawal been fired or relieved of duty?
Well, that's a great idea. I'm not going to tell this man what to do, but I will say that if I had his place, I'd fire every single one of them, Pete. That's a very good question.
Well, it's a question we've thought a lot about. We're doing a complete review of every single aspect of what happened with the botched withdrawal of Afghanistan and plan to have full accountability. It's one of the first things we announced at the Defense Department for that reason, sir. Certainly, General Raising Kane, who's on his way in, was not a part of that. Instead, was a part of leading the effort against ISIS by untying the hands of warfighters and finishing the job properly and then bringing our troops home. So we're taking a very different view, obviously, than the previous administration, and there will be full accountability.
Yeah, that seems to be what should have happened. If you fail, you get removed. This doesn't seem complicated, even if I'm going to give the best of intentions to the people who were involved in that. Look, you screwed up. Things didn't go very well. So you get the boot. That's just kind of the way things go. Some people aren't going to like that. I don't know what to tell you. You want the big job? You want the 4 stars? You want the glitz and the glam, and you want everyone to know who you are, and you want the top job? Then it turns out when it's time to step up, you step up, or you lose, or you get the boot. That's just the way things go. Some people aren't going to like that. I don't really care. You're fired, says Kelly Salvatore. You're right. You're fired. Get out. Guys, we're going to move on real quick because there is a lot of stuff that I want to make sure that I get to. What are the big stories? One of the big stories coming out over the last couple of last night was that the House approved a, quote, big, beautiful bill after a wild whip effort. Now, many House Republicans had intended to vote against this bill. Only one of them did. We'll get into the story in just a second. Before we do that, hit the thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. Share it out. Rock and roll. Rolling and rocking. Let's go. Giddy up. So, House Republicans approved the framework for President Trump's sweeping domestic policy agenda on Tuesday, a major victory for Speaker Mike Johnson, who worked with Trump and fellow leaders on the chaotic last-ditch effort to win over the naysayers within the GOP ranks. The vote went entirely along party lines. Every Democrat voted against it. Only GOP Rep. Thomas Massie voted against it. Now, some people aren't going to like Thomas Massie because he voted against this. However, Thomas Massie votes against every budget. Whether it's Democrat, whether it's Republican, he's a fiscal hawk. That's sort of his shtick. He wants to know how things are going to be paid for, which I'm not going to get mad at him about. The Senate passed a competing plan last week, and the Republicans in the 2 chambers must now reconcile the significant differences between the 2 fiscal blueprints. So the way this works, the House passes a budget, the Senate passes what they want, and then they come together and they say, okay, we're going to get some of this, we're going to take away some of that, a little bit here, a little bit there, trim around the edges sort of thing. Tuesday night's vote came after a wild scene on the House floor that played out over the course of hours. Around 6:30, members were called to the floor to begin voting on an unrelated measure with the budget plan to follow. But the unrelated vote was held open for more than an hour as the GOP whip team worked to win the holdouts. Democrats screamed regular order as they played the 15-minute vote stretch on and on and on. Shortly after 7:30, the vote was closed and members were informed the budget vote had been canceled. Minutes later, leaders sent out another alert saying the vote was back on. The holdouts include Tim Burchett, Warren Davidson of Ohio, Victoria Spartz of Indiana. We're actually, you know what? I'm going to get Congresswoman Spartz on the show. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a phone call right after this show. All four had voiced public opposition to the budget plan on Tuesday and could be seen on the House floor during the evening vote series, speaking to various Republican leaders. The fiscal hawks all raised objections about the inadequate spending cuts in the measure. Davidson, who's a name you probably haven't heard of before, also aired concerns about how Republican leaders plan to handle the impeding March 14th government shutdown, because of course in 3 weeks the government shuts down. Trump spoke over the phone at the various points with several of the holdouts. Johnson later said the calls were a big help because the House GOP's tiny majority and the united opposition of Democrats, those four members worked against it, but Johnson and Trump managed to win them over one by one. After Tim Burchett told reporters that Trump committed to me that he's going to go after spending in a lot of these big departments, and more generally, Republicans are going in that direction. Meanwhile, a different faction of the GOP conference, the moderate Republicans, many representing swing districts, had aired qualms about the scale of Medicaid cuts implied by the budget plan. That group, however, quickly softened on Monday night. Some said they were present from that a presentation from House leaders had moved them closer to supporting the budget plan. After it was all over, top Democrat leaders said Republicans had betrayed the Americans. Blah 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 blah. Let's see. There's a lot in this bill. There is absolutely a lot in this bill. One of them, of course, lays the foundation to continue the Donald Trump tax cuts, which many of us were a fan of. The House GOP passed the budget resolution Tuesday night. The resolution was pulled from the floor. We saw that. Passing the resolution marks a win for the GOP Congress, as well as for Trump, who backed the proposal. Trump previously endorsed the plan, saying on Truth Social last week that he was in favor of it, that implements all my full America First agenda, not just parts of it. The resolution lays the groundwork, and here's where Kevin is going to get a little upset. Here's where I'm going to get a little upset because the math just kind of doesn't add up here. The resolution lays the groundwork for $4.5 trillion in tax cuts, as well as $2 million in federal spending cuts over the next 10 years. Now, I don't care who is in office, Republican, Democrat, Trump, Biden, Obama, Kevin McCarthy, Mike Johnson, Nancy Pelosi, Hakeem Jeffries, John Boehner. I hate when they do this shit. I hate when they go, well, we're going to cut spending over the next 10 years. Just cut it this year. Why do you got to drag it out? And I'm going to tell you why they drag it out. Because they don't ever actually cut anything. They don't ever actually cut anything. They say it's over the course of the next 10 years. That way they can back end all the spending cuts. Why do they do that? That way, when they pass the budget next year, they say, look, it's going to be $3.5 trillion in spending cuts over the next 10 years. And then they backfill it. So they never actually cut any of the spending. They say they're going to cut. This is one of the biggest problems in Washington, D.C., and the entire budget process in its entirety. Now, do I like some of the spending cuts? Yes. Do I like many of the tax cuts? Yes. However, I hate, and they all do this, it's like a common thing, they all do the over 10 years crap. It drives me absolutely insane. The plans instruct that $880 billion will be cut from the federal budget by the Energy and Commerce Committee. The resolution in which effect is not legislation, sets the stage for a bill that Republicans are now working on in the House. Taxes on tips, overtime, as well as Social Security benefits would be eliminated with the proposed proposal. Look, I like that. I like it. I like it a lot. Taxes on tips and overtime and Social Security would be something that actually impacts real Americans, everyday Americans. That should be booted out immediately. That's great. However, there's some things Some things I don't really like in here. Like I said, the math doesn't really necessarily add up, and I think that I think they're going to have an uphill fight. This was not the actual vote on the budget. That is an important caveat here. This was kind of a vote on a framework for a budget. As we said, they have, what is it, March 14th? 16 days for the House and the Senate to come together and pass a spending bill. Look, you're going to hear me complain a lot about it. But it seems like they're starting, well, how do you say this? It seems like they're almost starting to kind of consider doing their jobs. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Not at all. But they did extend the Trump tax cuts, which I do like. The taxes on tips, overtime and Social Security will be in the budget. Promises made, promises kept as far as the administration is concerned. Excuse me. Sorry about that. So let's move on real quick because, as I said, there is a lot that I want to get to. And at the end of the show today, I told you guys I would do this yesterday, but I didn't get a chance to show you guys one of the funniest videos I've ever seen in my entire life. It's an old video, but I just want to make everybody laugh. It's just really, really funny. So we're going to show you that at the end of the show. Guys, hit the thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. We're going to be talking about the AP being banned from the Oval Office and why this matters. Before we get to that, Mike Lindell.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 20% on our brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one I've worn every day for over 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get our 2025 six-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, just $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our first ever mega sale. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship is sailed because right now, every order ships absolutely free.
Guys, head on over to MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD. It's MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD for up to 80% off everything on the website. Check out Mike Lindell's mega sale happening right now over at MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD. Once again, guys, hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. We just crossed the 200 mark. Let's see, can we get to the 300 by the end of the show? What's up, Nancy? Yeah, you guys do a Rumble rant, you get called out. That's my way of saying thank you. Rumble rants get you call outs. Ba-boom. Claire, how are you? Patty Vest, what's happening? What's going on? M2, as always, good to see you. Good to see you. Murph, how are we doing? How's everybody doing today? I hope everybody's having a great day. As the weather seems to be breaking here in the Northeast. Is spring upon us? One can only hope. Before we get to the AP news story, real quick, for my local audience, for my Queens audience, for my Long Island people, this Saturday we are going to be at the Kings Park St. Patrick's Day Parade. We're going to be doing a lot of petitioning out there, a lot of real activism on the ground. So for anybody who is in the local area, who wants to get involved, or who wants to just come down and grab a beer at what I think is the best St. Patrick's Day parade anywhere on Long Island, come on down. We're going to be at Legends Bar and Grill at noon on Indian Head Road in Kings Park. We certainly could use the help. We really do appreciate it, as always. Time for us to put some of this, put some of this activism in gear, especially after the news I just heard. Which drove me absolutely insane. So let's talk about the AP, okay? Because as I just said, when it comes to the way things are, the way things operate in Washington, D.C., the biggest problem in Washington is that people do things the way they've always done them because they've always done them that way. And because of that, there are many people out there who, as we spoke about the other day with Joy Reid, who are not putting out a quality product but are still receiving access to the top levels of our government. Now, there is no legal reason that you as a news outlet are allowed to cover the president, okay? I, as a reporter, as a commentator, can't just walk into the White House and start roaming around the Oval Office looking to get a story. You just can't. That's just not the way any of this works. Every single person, whether in the White House press room or in the Oval Office or on Air Force One, any of those areas are there because the president and the administration have allowed them to be there. Now, there is a 501c3 called the White House Correspondents Association. They tend to dictate terms in the White House press briefing room. Why do they get to do that? Because they always have. That's the reason. And because they've always done something, they think that's the way it's going to be. The problem is that when you have that sort of a cartel, and that's the only way to really describe it, is a cartel involved in this granting access to the president, there tends to be some very serious problems. For example, and we're going to talk about this on Friday with White House correspondent Monica Page. OAN, One American News Network, which if you guys watch that, you see me on it all the time. But One American News Network wasn't given a question in the White House press briefing room for 4 years. So every day, people like Monica and people like Chanel Rion stood in the back of the room, basically with their thumb up their ass, because Karine Jean-Pierre would never call on them. She would only call on the people that she liked. She would only call on her friends. She would only call on the establishment news media. And this upset a lot of people naturally. To stand there and never get called on because they didn't want the bad narrative to be out there. Well, a lot of that seems to be changing right now. And one of the biggest change is the fact that a judge has sided with the White House on banning the Associated Press from the Oval Office. Now, let me explain to you the way a lot of it works, okay? So there's what's called the pool. That's everybody. That's everybody on the White House lawn. When Trump goes out to Marine One, they all shout questions at him. He picks the ones he wants. Then there's this smaller group of people. The White House press briefing room. It's a room. So only so many people can fit in it. So some people get shut out. Then there's the Air Force One access, and then there is the Oval Office access. Obviously, the Oval Office access is the top spot. But as you get through each one of those layers, the amount of people that can be involved is smaller and smaller based on the size of the entity. Well, the Associated Press always just assumed they would have a spot on Air Force One. Always just assumed they would have a spot in the White House press, in the Oval Office, because they're the Associated Press. Donald Trump pulled that. You can come into the press briefing room if you want, but the Oval Office is not going to be for you. So they sued, but a federal judge declined to restore the Associated Press's Oval Office access, Air Force One and Mar-a-Lago, after the outlet brought a suit against Carolyn Levitt, Susie Wiles, and her deputy, Taylor Bodowich. Bodowich. The outlet claimed that their exclusion from the press venue was a violation of the First Amendment. Now, to them, I'm sure it was. I'm sure that's what it felt like. Because if you guys have picked up on anything over the course of this administration so far, is that this is going to be a disruptive type administration. Things are going to change. Norms are going to be broken. And just because the Associated Press has always had access doesn't guarantee them they will always have it in the future. Which is why Carolyn Levitt has the ability to pull that. However, District Court Judge Trevor McFadden disagreed, declining to temporarily lift the ban while the lawsuit plays out in the courts. CNN reported that Donald Trump, per the White House responses to the AP suit, was personally involved in the decision to revoke the special status for the Associated Press had for many years. He called their work dishonest reporting. His anger was raised when the AP refused to use the term Gulf of America in their reporting, which is pretty funny. McFadden scheduled a hearing on March 20th to hear the AP's case for a preliminary injunction. The White House had responded to the AP suit, saying that the Associated Press continues to enjoy general media access to the White House press facilities. So they haven't been banned. Imagine that. Imagine the level of arrogance you are of the Associated Press. So you get to be in the White House press briefing room, but you don't get to be in the Oval Office, and now you threaten to sue? That's like somebody getting a free ticket to a nightclub and then getting pissed off that they weren't allowed in the VIP. Like, you got in for free, bro. Just accept it. Believe me, any of us would gladly take the Associated Press's current access to the White House. I don't get that. Hell, I know half the people in the briefing room, and I don't get it. So you know what? Like, AP, sit down. But this is a bigger part of what we've been talking about over the last couple of days. Whether it comes to Joy Reid and her show at MSNBC, or whether it comes to how the Associated Press feels about itself and its style of journalism, one could say, there is an expectation in D.C., and we're seeing this a lot with the federal workers right now. You see, federal workers don't think they have to respond to the demands of the president and his team. They shouldn't have to send an email saying the 5 things they've done today. I could name you 5 things I did in the last hour. But they shouldn't have to do that. And because they don't feel like they should have to do that, people are getting very, very upset about it. As a matter of fact, they're getting so upset about it that many of them have taken to cable news to express their discontent.
First, just tell us about this email and what it was like receiving it and what you all have talked about after getting it.
Sure. I got this email Saturday afternoon, about 3 p.m., and I felt absolutely infuriated getting this email with a demand within 48 hours to provide a response on what I did within the last week or face termination. This is clearly an attempt from Elon Musk to harass and bully and intimidate the federal workforce, which is part of his broader plan to gut the federal workforce and privatize public sector services to ensure that corporations like his own can get more profit. And that makes me really angry, and my coworkers as well.
You know what makes me really angry, sweetheart? When you go on TV and you spout left-wing talking points because you're a nonpartisan actor, or so I was told. You're a nonpartisan actor, yet you sound like Crystal Ball or Kyle Kulinski with your nonsense talking points that Elon Musk is trying to enrich himself. Guys, he's already won. He's the richest man in the world. He's not trying to do any of that. Also, honey, sweetie, I'm gonna belittle you because I don't like you. Why don't you take that time you spent doing your cable news hit disparaging your boss? Why don't you take that time to write the email? Because here's the little secret, and they're not going to say this, but it seems fairly obvious. The entire point of that email being sent out by Elon Musk was just to see if people would respond. Just to see. Because I'm sorry, if it takes you 6 days to answer an email, I don't care where you work, you should be fired. That's the little secret about all this. It's just to see about who would respond. Some of them even went so far as to call in to morning radio shows to complain.
I got the email, and I honestly feel like this is a great opportunity to outline what you as an employee bring to the bring to the federal government. And if it's really good what you outline, they could give you an opportunity to get a promotion or something. Like, God forbid, they ask you what you've done. Any other job, they'll ask you at the end of the week, at the end of the month, because I used to do bookkeeping. Okay, so what did we do, at the end of the month? What are the clients that we have to, gear towards to? So at the end of the day, God forbid anybody make any, and it's this democratic thing. It's like, I don't want to get the parties into it, but they don't want to go to work. They want to work from home. People are not working from home. This is what you signed up for. If you don't like it, resign. You know what I'm saying? They gave you the opportunity to find another job. I mean, it's not that hard. You're complaining about actually working. I don't get it.
I'm not mad at your perspective. That's why I like talking to people. I like talking to people, and I like talking to people who are in it, because everybody sees things a different way.
I haven't heard this perspective. Do you feel like there are a lot of people that are not working, that are taking days off? I guess exactly what Trump and Elon are saying.
Absolutely. I worked from home, and do you know what? Donald Trump got the gadget idea because Elon Musk, he fired like 80% of the Twitter people or Tesla people for his company, because you can buy a gadget that actually shakes up like you're at the desk, but you're really not working, because the computers, it shuts off if it's non-activity within like 5 minutes. So it requires you to actually work from home. But it's gadgets around that, and people are actually buying it and using it and not working. And this is our taxpayers' money, and you have to work.
Yeah,
you don't like it, get another job.
I understand what you're saying, but you can't just take a wrecking ball to the infrastructure of the federal government and just start firing people all willy-nilly. Because what about those people who work at the nuclear workers, who they fired and then ended up realizing, like, oh, we need these people? Or the people who work at I think it was the USDA,
totally
who were overseeing the bird flu. You can't just fire them.
I agree. Right, I agree with you on that. But the people that's complaining about writing an email, it's going to take, 5 minutes out of your day, 10 minutes? I read on Twitter, the guy was complaining, it's going to be an hour. It takes you an hour to write 5 things that you completed? Okay. Maybe you do need another job.
Oh, so you agree with it. Okay. Thank you, Mama.
A great perspective. That's why you got to talk to people. Stop talking about people you never talked to.
Yep, stop talking about people you've never talked to. And I want to be clear. Most of you know who that is. His name is Charlemagne the God. He's a huge radio host. Massive audience. Incredibly influential. There is and look, am I 100% sure that good people are probably going to get caught up in this? Absolutely. Absolutely. Just law of averages would suggest that's going to happen. But right now, the Democratic Party is out here going, vote for me. I'm on the side of the IRS. I'm on the side of people who don't want to go to work. And I'm sitting back here going, you know what, Democrats, go ahead and do it. Do it. Run your 2026 campaign on we're here to protect the workers at the IRS. Let me know how that goes for you. Now, naturally, all the people you know, all the people you are aware suck, are the same ones coming out and complaining about it. Here was the Spanish lady on The View, whose name I can never remember, coming out and calling it abusive. Abusive. To have to respond to a work email.
Abusive of federal workers. And it is just plain wrong.
And it's random.
It's
abusive.
It's random.
It's abusive to
yes,
get an email?
I do. I do think that. I think the way that they are. Yeah, I think the way that they are treating them.
Why? How is this abusive?
Scott, have you ever gotten an email from someone that said, you better do this or else you're going to resign?
Yeah, it's called having the boss of the private sector.
From someone who's not your boss?
The White House is every federal worker's boss. That's number one.
Elon Musk is not anybody's boss.
Scott, how is Elon going to evaluate? I mean, how is he going to evaluate the work of thousands of federal employees when he has no idea what they do?
He's not. The test was, are you even paying attention to your email? Are you even at your terminal?
Some federal workers, he sent it on a weekend. Some federal workers do not have access to their emails on the weekends. They just don't.
Did they go to work today? I mean, look, the amount of outrage, melting down, and sort of outpouring of emotion over this ought to tell you everything you need to know. We had a lady on CNN today, a supposed federal worker, who said she was infuriated by getting this email. She had time to go on CNN, but she didn't have time to send a 30-second email saying, well, here's what I was working on last week. This is what people in the private sector have come to hate about how they view the public sector. And I think there's a great many very dedicated public servants. But you said, it's about control. Yes, it's about control, and it's about finding out who is actually at their job working and who isn't, and do we need all these people?
Exactly what I said. Scott Jennings, I've told you this. When you retire, I can take over for you. It's just about it's just about seeing who's even paying attention. Hello, McFly. Is anybody in there? That's all that email was, to see who actually checks their emails. Because if you don't check your work email, you're probably not doing any of the work required in that email. I'm going to just say, it's one of those things I don't know, but I don't really need to know because it's obvious. Now, going back to the Charlemagne clip, why that's so important. That was a black host on a black network with a black caller, since everything's about race, saying, damn right, people agree with this. If you work a regular job, you have to do this. But federal employees feel that they don't have to. That's why prissy little white girl, who probably went to Wesleyan, went on CNN and decided to say, I really don't have time for this. I shouldn't be bothered. Well, listen up, sweetheart. Maybe, like the black caller said on the Charlemagne show, maybe you should get a different job. Maybe being a secretary at the Department of the Interior is too complicated for you. Maybe you should go be a nanny or marry well or get knocked up by a billionaire. I don't know. Pick something else, because it seems like working for a living is not really your cup of tea. It's not really too high on your list of priorities. Nobody's asking them to jump through hoops. They're asking them to answer an email. And the response to it by the talking heads on TV ought to tell you everything you need to know. Ana Navarro doesn't like it, which tells me I love it. Because if Ana Navarro, if I went into a restaurant and saw Ana Navarro sitting there, and she was like, Kev, you should try the steak because it's really good here, I would have the chicken. It's not that complicated. Nobody's asking for anybody to go above and beyond here. They're not asking them to, do anything crazy. They're just asking them to do the job that they signed up for, which, to my mind, doesn't seem all that complicated. But apparently, if you're, used to working from home, used to going to work in your pajamas, apparently that's just too much for you to handle. And we don't need you. Anyone who's ever worked in government could tell you that you could cut 25% of the staff and you wouldn't even notice. There's more, because I do want to get this. I swear, I hate this. The damn news cycle moves so quickly these days that it's hard to sometimes it's hard to even keep up with it. But we're going to get to more stuff from the budget. There's a story out of Colombia. And at the end, I promise you guys, we're going to watch one of the funniest videos I've ever seen. Before we get to all that, guys, hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. Once again, for the local audience, come on down this Saturday at the Kings Park St. Patrick's Day Parade. We're going to be doing some petitioning. We're going to be doing some activism. Get involved. We're going to show you guys how to do this in a new school way, so you're not being taught by people who are 4,000 years old. We're going to have some fun. We're going to have some drinks, and we're gonna do some great stuff. So come on down. It's going to be a great time this weekend. So before we keep going, guys, head on over to lfatv.us. That's lfatv.us. LFATV.us. That's your home base, your mothership, your landing pad for all things LFA TV related. Check out the LFA TV store, and while you guys are there, consider becoming a monthly donor over at LFA TV. We really do appreciate your Rumble rants. It helps to keep the network going. We can't do it without your help. We're not backed by Pfizer like some of these other companies out there. So please do keep those coming. We really, really do appreciate it. Head on over to LFATV.us. So, what is this? Oh, yes. This is important. To the email thing, I forgot to include this. This is wild. So Kelly Loeffler, who I jokingly say knows everything about running a small business, as she is the head of the Small Business Administration. She knows about running a small business because she is the owner of a WNBA team. So only like 12 people work there. So, sorry, I'm a dick. But Kelly Loeffler decided she was going to go down to the Small Business Administration, where many people have continued to work from home, and she took a video of what she found.
Hey everyone, Kelly Loeffler. I wanted to update you after our conversation on Friday. Today, Monday, thanks to President Trump's return to work order, we went from having 20% occupancy in our building up to 80%. We have more work to do. But that's great progress. The American taxpayer can know that we're here working for them. We've got a lot to do. We've got to deregulate. We've got to cut that red tape that is strangling small businesses. We have to get rid of the waste, fraud, and abuse, and we have to get back to work for the American people. Thanks to President Trump, we're doing that. We're going to make Main Street great again.
Why am
I'm
I showing
Kelly
you
Loeffler.
this?
I wanted to update you after our conversation on Friday.
Look at this desk. Look at this desk beforehand. There's nothing in it. There's no work. Nothing is happening. This sort of stuff goes on all over the federal government, man. And it drives me crazy. Every time I got to drag my ass to work in the morning, it drives me crazy knowing that I should just have a federal job where I can put my feet up. Now, as I said, look, a lot of people that work in the federal government do incredible work. And I want to make sure that those people who do good work are kept doing the good work that they're doing. People are getting all upset. I don't trust her. Guys, she's running the Small Business Administration. There's nothing not to trust her about. It's completely irrelevant. People need to go back to work. Or, if they're not going to go back to work, why don't we sell the buildings so we don't have to do maintenance, and we don't have to keep upkeep, and we don't have to pay the taxes on those buildings? There you go. No, Claire. What I'm saying is she's the head of the Small Business Administration. There's nothing she could even do. It's not like she's making legislation. Nancy, I like that. Sell the building, especially the Nancy Pelosi building. Yeah, that's really funny. Donald Trump is planning on selling the Nancy Pelosi federal building in Washington, D.C., in San Francisco, which is just going to set her off. That's just funny as hell. That's just the ultimate troll move. The ultimate troll move. Guys, we'll be back in 1 second before that Old Glory Bank.
When big banks decide who gets access to America's financial systems and who doesn't, who do you think gets left out? Middle Americans who proudly wave their pro-America values. Cancel culture in banking is corrosive. It limits your participation in a vibrant, free market economy. Fortunately, you can fight back. You now have the opportunity to invest in the bank that's investing in a fair American banking system, one based in freedom. Ownership in Old Glory Bank, the pro-America online bank, is here. Old Glory Bank is a full-service FDIC-insured bank that's the alternative to overreaching, un-American big banks. We stand for privacy, security, and liberty. We stand for freedom, family, faith, and the flag. We stand for all the values you stand for, and for the values big banks can't stand. So help keep banking in the hands of Main Street, not Wall Street. To invest in Old Glory Bank, go to oldglorybank.com.
Guys, I can honestly say I never thought I would have a commercial for a bank on this channel or on this show, but honestly, the people over at Old Glory Bank, they're patriots, they do amazing work, and they're trying to build out the parallel economy. So head on over to own.oldglorybank.com. That's own.oldglorybank.com. And request some information, consider picking up their IPO, or open one of their CDs with competitive rates at 3.5%. Guys, go to oldglorybank.com. So let's move on here, because there was a pretty big migrant raid going on in some of these sanctuary cities over the course of the last several weeks, honestly. It's so funny. This was like the one story we were all talking about for the longest time, and then we just moved on to the next thing. But the Trump administration has begun slamming Democratic politicians for the sanctuary city nonsense. Why? Because many of them believe that they want them here. President Trump is removing illegal immigrant killers, rapists, and drug dealers from our streets and sending them back to where they belong. The statement listed several of the most extreme examples of illegal immigrants recently apprehended by ICE. ICE arrested a Sudanese national in St. Paul, Minnesota, go figure, who was convicted of rape of a victim under the age of 13. A Mexican national convicted of sexual criminal conduct against a victim under 14. A Laotian, that would be from Laos, like by Vietnam, was convicted of child endangerment and criminal sexual contact. The White House criticized Attorney General Keith Ellison. He's the Attorney General of Minnesota, and he's also the number 2 at the Muslim Brotherhood. You know, the Muslim Brotherhood, the people that killed Malcolm X. Just saying. Just saying. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. He's actually in line to be the next governor of Minnesota. But the White House has begun to slam them. But sure enough, there's more and more migrant raids happening every single day.
Border Czar Tom Homan, who joined this operation, tells me that they arrested about 90 illegal migrants here. This makes it the largest operation that we have seen under the Trump administration. Homan says this is part of a much larger criminal investigation. He called this phase 1 and something they have been planning for a while. Early Monday morning, HSI, along with special agents and Texas DPS, made the arrests in and around Colony Ridge, a largely Hispanic development outside of Houston. We sat down with Border Czar Tom Homan right after he joined that operation.
They were a target enforcement operation. We went with warrants on some people. Some were worksite operations, and others were traffic stops conducted by Texas DPS. The last number I saw was like 69 criminals. I know for a fact there were several sexual predators, child predators that were arrested for, sexual misconduct with a child. There are several of them. I know there's one that was convicted of either homicide or murder.
Now, among those arrested right here, a 3-time previously deported criminal illegal alien from El Salvador. ICE tells me he had criminal arrest warrants for alleged repeated sexual abuse of a minor.
Not shocking, but Democrats do not want any of that happening. Democrats don't want any of that happening. No, we've got to keep them in our country. I got some guy in my chat right now who thinks he's funny. Dave Vincent Smith. Yeah, okay. Have a good time, Pally. Have a good time. Democrats don't want any of that, but it's important to keep up with the successes and the promises made, promises kept of this administration. Sophie says, I want to be deputized. Who's with me? Let's go. I would love it. Let's make it happen. I think we all have to move to Nassau County so Governor Blakeman, Executive Blakeman, can deputize all of us. We all got to move to Nassau County here on Long Island. Also, Kamala Harris popped up the other day where she discovered fire for the first time. Guys, I'm going to show you a video in a minute that, did we dodge a bullet? Did we dodge a bullet? Before I get to that, guys, head on over to loudmajorityusa.com. That's loudmajorityusa.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Check out our shop. That is the best way to support this network and everything we've got going on. Also, for anybody who buys anything today, I will send you a free Loud Majority hat. So that's just for today, February 26th. If you pick up anything today, I'll send you a free Loud Majority hat as a thank you, guys. Go to loudmajorityusa.com. That's loudmajorityusa.com. So Kamala Harris went and checked out the fires. And it turns out she just discovered the very concept of fire. Check this one out.
What goes through your mind when you see this? You're here, you're now seeing it up close.
It's not only seeing it, Alex, you can smell it. You can feel it, right? So it's seeing it with our eyes, and many people have seen it. You all are covering it. But to literally be on the ground here, you can smell the smoke that was here. You can feel the toxicity, frankly, of the environment. You can feel the energy of all of the folks who are still here on the ground.
My goodness, did we dodge a bullet, America? Oh, did we dodge a bullet not electing that dithering idiot? Dithering idiot. Well done, America, for not electing Kamala Harris. And for all the people out there who will try to say something like, oh, Kevin only doesn't like Kamala because she's black. No, here's a black person who speaks totally normally and didn't just discover the concept of fire, that you can smell fire and you can feel fire. Here's Byron Donalds announcing he's running for governor of Florida.
Here with more, Congressman Byron Donalds. Congressman, great to have you. How are you?
It's good to be with you, Sean. Thanks for having me on.
All right. If you want to make any announcements to make, is it truth? I mean, you got the support of President Trump. Where do you stand? Are you ready to make the plunge?
Well, look, Sean, after a lot of prayer, a lot of thought with my family and my friends, I'm here to announce my candidacy to be the next governor of the great state of Florida. And Sean, we have a wonderful state. I got to Florida when I was 17 years old off of a Greyhound bus with just a trunk full of clothes. And over the rest of my time in Florida, I built a family. I built a career, 17 years in financial services. I joined the Tea Party movement, was in the conservative movement. I was able to serve 4 years in the state legislature, 4 years in Congress. And I think now is the time to now take the mantle and lead our state into the future. We have a great governor. Ron DeSantis has done a tremendous job for our state. But now the job is to keep the best state in the country as the best state in the country. And so that's going to be the mission at hand. And I'm excited to announce my candidacy with you tonight.
We appreciate the announcement. What do you make of the reports that the government...
Love it. Love it, Byron Donalds. Let's do it. Of course, Byron Donalds decided to jump into this race before Casey DeSantis got the chance to do it, and I wish him all the best. I wish him all the best. Because you know my motto. You want something done right, you send a guy from New York. Obviously, Byron Donalds, a Brooklyn boy. Just saying. We were talking about that. I was talking about this with somebody the other day. Like, for my New Yorkers in the chat, you know like half of Donald Trump's administration is from New York? Like half. Lee Zeldin, Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, Howard Lutnick, Bobby Kennedy, Donald Trump, Elise Stefanik, they're all from New York. It's a beautiful thing. It's an absolutely beautiful thing. Guys, hit the thumbs up button. I promised you I would show you a hilarious video on the way out the door today, and I'm going to keep my promise to that. Here is some guy. This video is like 10 years old, but I want you all to laugh. Here is some guy. I don't know who he is. He got very annoyed at some lady on a New York City public bus because she was yelling at the bus driver for helping a handicapped woman. And because this bus driver helped out a handicapped woman, this lady was going to be late to work. Just enjoy, everyone.
This is New York. This is New York. Everybody late. Everybody.
Because you're nosy, that's why you are late.
Everybody late. It's New York.
Bitch, that's why you are late.
You want to be on time, go to Jamaica and walk to work.
And if I was there, I would have get there.
You're going to be late. That's it. You're going to be late.
I don't give a shit where I won't come from or where I
Don't be mad at him because you're late.
Not from Jamaica either, so you're talking from.
Or wherever you from, you might be on time if you walk there.
I was talking to the driver.
But you're annoying me, so now I'm gonna speak on it.
I'm not near your fucking house.
You're fucking annoying
Oh, I
me.
get you now. You live in the house?
You need a
And who you
fucking
live
car.
with and I fucking you.
You know what it is? You upset because you got a bullshit ass job. And you late to your bullshit ass job. You can't buy a car because you got a bullshit ass job. Don't be mad. Don't fuck everybody else day up. Poor lady got a wheelchair. She got on the bus with a wheelchair. That's why the bus is late.
It takes 15 minutes to get on.
You gonna be mad at that? Come on, get out of here. Ask your boss for a raise. You can buy a car and you won't have to take the fucking bus. I'm gonna probably get fired. I'm mad late. I don't even care. I'll get another job. I'm not gonna get mad at the bus driver. It's my fault. I should have been on the 12:10 instead of the 12:13 bus. That's my fault. That ain't his fault. Wake your ass up early. Put the fucking dumplings down. I mean, and get on the bus. Wildin' out, B. Yo. You could keep going. I could keep going. I'm getting off at 5 towns. So we could do this all the way till 5 towns.
He's a pussy because you're retarded.
I'm retarded too. Me and the bus driver both retarded. Everybody's retarded now. Who else retarded on this bus? This bus too long for everybody to be retarded. The retarded people get on the short bus, not the long bus. Yo, go a little slower, driver. You're going too fast. Slow down a little bit. Get motion sickness on the bus. Slow down a little bit.
Yo, that's crazy. Yo.
Fuck this lady, B. What's she talking about?
Look, I don't know who that guy is, but I want to be his friend. I want to buy that guy a beer. Because take your ass back to Jamaica and walk your ass to work. Look, sometimes we just got to laugh a little bit, right? Life's tough, so we all got to enjoy it sometimes. Guys, hit the thumbs up button on the way out the door. Will Johnson coming up next right here on this network. Head on over to LoudMajorityUSA.com. Go to OldGloryBank.com. Invest with Old Glory. I wouldn't move you astray. I would never do that, guys. I'll catch you guys back live tomorrow. Until then, everybody, stay loud.